video, so I had to just go for it. So welcome everyone, welcome to the session, and I'm just going to we'll take a minute for everyone to come in, for it all to be working, and welcome to you all. Apologies for the clunky start. That's the way it has to go sometimes. But we're here with Neenah, NeenahMixedIt, the Instagram handle of this amazing Dutch producer, mix engineer, singer, songwriter, all round just legend basically. And it was really, I've been following her for a while on Instagram, and it was, actually kind of heard of her through some of the mixes that she had done. So I was like, cool, follow her on Instagram. And so then I've obviously, whenever you find someone who is, following a similar path to yourself, it's always really nice. And particularly for us as we're, people in the minority, right? So then it was, I was really looking forward to the moment when I could invite her to come on and do a specialist stream with everyone today. So I'm really happy to have her, and I'll introduce her in a moment. But maybe to start off with, let's see who's out there and give us a hello. We've got Sarah May is there. Hello, how are you? Lovely to see you. Welcome. Who else have we got? Anyone else? Come on, give us a hello. Tell us, where are you in the world? Where are you listening in? So we can get to know you, I guess. We've got someone has asked for the link, and that's a very good question. So today, just to give, as we were waiting for people to kind of type in the chat and let us know where they're listening from. So we've got Emiliana from, where are you from? And Sarah May, whereabouts are you from? We have, so today there is a drum, we've kind of slightly misbranded it. So it's a drum production workshop, but it's actually more focused on mixing drums. So, here we go. Yay, all the chat comments just came in. Awesome. Britta's there. Greetings from Norway. Hey, Britta, how you going? We've got Car is there. Hello, Car. Axel Blessed, The Hague in Netherlands. Yes, representing. Awesome. Venus is there. And who else have we got? Andrea's there. Hey, Andrea, what's up? And Sarah May is from Berlin. Very nice. And Thoriso, is that correct? And from South Africa. Awesome. Love it. Really cool. So thank you so much, everyone, for being with us today. And we're very excited, as I said, to have Neenah from the Netherlands. The Dutch powerhouse is with us today. And as I was saying, so we've got Neenah's going to work in Pro Tools, and so that the audio is high fidelity, we're working with audiomovers. So there's a link that's in the chat, and it's also in the description of the video. So everyone just check it out. Make sure that you've got the link, and then we will get going shortly. So we've got M Phoenix is there. Yes. Cinder Winner in the house. Awesome. Nice to see you. Sujal Verma from India. Woo! Yay, India. Awesome. So happy that you're here. And let me now segue into Neenah. As I said, she's an award-winning mix engineer. Her specialism is hip-hop, so we're going to hear lots of hip-hop today. And Cinder Wiener says, give us the gems, Neenah. It's coming. Okay, but first, let's meet Neenah. I'll bring her in and let's have a chat. Welcome. Oh, hang on. Let's make you big. Hey.
Hello. Hi.
Hello. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you guys for tuning in. This is awesome.
Very cool.
I'm excited. Welcome, everybody.
So what have you got for us today, Neenah?
So today I will be looking at a session from one of my, I shouldn't have favorites, but he is one of my favorite clients. One of my favorite people to work with. His name is Jordan Mitchell. And
Cool.
The song is called Lucky. And he is a very, very talented producer, artist, and songwriter. And so he has created this song all on his own. So the only help that he's got on this song is me mixing it. So it's super cool. I wanted to zoom in on this a little bit. It's a good example because it's got a bunch of loops. And I thought it would be cool to take a look at the treatment that I used for these loops, and just some of the things that you run into when you have a production that has several loops, more than one, with especially kicks layering. So
Cool.
I wanted to
Awesome.
take a look at that,
Cool.
and just see how far we get, because
Great.
it's going to be 30 minutes.
Time
So
flies. Yeah.
yeah.
So that's actually good that you said that. So just so everyone knows the kind of the schedule for today is that in a second I'm going to not swipe left. I'm going to just get out of
Don't
the
swipe
stream.
left on me.
No. So I'm going to like disappear basically, and Neenah's going to take over. Her Pro Tools screen is going to appear, and then she's going to get into the mix. After she's talked about her thing and we've all been our minds blown with all these new amazing insights, then we'll probably have lots of questions, and those questions we'll have time after that. Okay, so now, like, let's say 10 past or something like that, we're going to do 30 minutes of Neenah talking about her process, and then we're going to have a nice amount of time for questions and feedback and all that stuff afterwards.
Yes.
All right. Awesome. Okay. So in comes Pro Tools and out goes Jane. Peace out. I'll be in the background taking notes like everyone else.
Thank you
See
so
ya.
much, Jane. All right,
Over to you.
Get started. Thank you. So let's just look at this session real quick. So this is a session. This is the mix session, actually. And before I got started, I got the original session from the artist, which is actually awesome to work like that, because usually I get tracks or stems. So I love working from a session that an artist has been working with. Also, I should note that let's say 10 seconds before we went live, my UAD satellite decided to not want to participate. So some of the UAD plugins are not working, but it's fine. I managed to switch a couple ones out, so there may be one or two that aren't working, but I'm sure it'll be fine. It's not a big deal anyway. So just a quick run through. Usually this is how my mixing sessions look. I will have the demo way up top. Let me just check. Yes, I am actually streaming. So while I'm talking, actually, this is a good idea. I'm going to play the song. I'm going to scroll through the session. And so I want to make sure that everyone is playing the stream. So I'm playing it right now. So you should be hearing music while I am talking. So let's just make sure that everyone is on. So I'm playing. So we have the drums here. These are the drums. Here's the bass. Some vocal effects, sounds, guitars.
Yeah, we can hear it sounding amazing.
Sorry, one more time. I heard someone.
I can hear it. I can hear it and it sounds lovely. So if people can't hear it, okay, let's just take a minute.
Yeah,
if people can't
notes.
hear it, there's
notes.
a few notes there. So hang on, I'll just come in. We need to click on the audio. Hang on.
Yeah. So when you open the link, you should get a pop-up that says stream now. So if you can't hear it, then maybe try it in a different browser.
Okay, so hang on a sec. Maybe just stop for a second, Neenah.
Uh-huh.
So hang on, let's go through this together. So what we need is for everyone, could you go, Neenah, to the YouTube page? Maybe just click to the YouTube page, or have you just shared your Pro Tools screen?
I'm sorry, one more time.
Have you just shared your Pro Tools
screen?
I have. Okay, so actually that's fine. So everyone, I'm going to put the link in the chat again, okay? So just 1 second. Oh, hang on. Yeah, so someone said listen to is about 15 to 20 seconds ahead of the YouTube stream.
Oh, no.
Oh, no, okay.
Oh, no.
We didn't think about that one, did we? Oh gosh, look, it's the wonderful world of streaming where we learn as we make mistakes. So we'll just have to manage that. So I guess just play first and then describe what you're
Yeah.
doing. So
Someone said
people,
the track is a bit loud also. So let me
yeah,
play it again. I'll play it again and I'll turn it down.
cool. Has
And
everyone
then
got the
hopefully,
link?
yeah, so I'm playing it again just to make sure that people can try to.
Yeah, and you can also adjust the volume yourself.
Yeah, but they have to hear me though. So,
No, but they can, in the audio movers
okay,
area, you can turn it down.
got you.
All right, I think we're
Someone said I
good.
can hear it now. Yes.
Whee! Awesome,
Yay.
everyone. Okay, I'll now depart again. Tschüss.
Thank you. Okay. So I apologize if there is some latency in between me talking and me playing the song. That might be a little bit difficult, but let's just work with it. So I'm playing the song. Over here we have the drums, which are now soloed and sound great in my opinion, not mix-wise, but production-wise. Production is the most important start of any great song. So I would like to get started now. I hope everybody is, all set. And if not, then I'm sorry because I'm not following the chat. So, so over here, let's just quickly go over what we have. We have a couple of drum loops. So one of them is this one. I'll just solo them one by one. This is one of them. Then we have this one that's layered over it. And then we have, after this break, we have a third one, which is kind of like a dark, boomy type of loop. And then we have a bunch of extra kicks over here. We have some tambourines, a fill, some reverse cymbals, some crashes. So I opened up the original programming of these drums because I wanted to take a look at those first before I got started. So I wanted to look at what I got versus what it became. So this is what I got. And right off the bat, you can tell that these are 4 kick drums layered. Basically, there's a lot of layering, and this is the reason why I wanted to talk about this subject today, is because a lot of drums get layered nowadays. It's like a common thing. You rarely get just the one kick, one snare, one hi-hat. I think it's mostly also just because you are more able to create your own type of sound, and maybe it's just not really what you're looking for. You layer something and it's like, okay, that's more what I want. But when you are layering drums, you run into issues, and in particular with the kick. So a lot of what I saw was that the kick was phasing, and you can actually literally see if I zoom in that in particular, like say these bottom 2 are literally canceling out. Over here, there's some cancellation. And so what I gathered from the producer layering kick drums is the one kick drum was not enough. Let me add another one. I want more banging drums. I should layer them. I should add more. Which is usually gonna, get you into some trouble phase wise. And for those of you who don't know what phasing is, it's basically just, if you look at the cycle, the cycle goes down and up, and this is basically one cycle when it goes down and up, or up and down one time and then again. And if it's layered with something that's doing the exact opposite, if you add these up, you get to 0. So basically, adding these up will cancel out completely, and there's no sound, basically, or almost no sound. So this is something that you have to be absolutely aware of when you are working with drums, and especially when you're working with layered drums and layered loops. So this was going to be a problem. So I took a look at what I was working with, and I decided that for the most part, I should just be working with just one source for the kick. And so I just went in manually. So again, we were just looking at the original that I imported into the session. And so I just literally cut some of the kicks out. And if we take a look at the original file, you can see that I cut out kicks here just to have just like one in there rather than layered, bunch layered. So then I decided that I wanted this source for the kick. Let me just play this, and you will hear it in about 3 hours once it's playing. So I took this loop as a source, and I noticed that he had also just been, he had been layering the kicks. So I figured, okay, I should get maybe a little bit more of a kick in there, or at least a little bit more freedom with the kick. So I decided to cut out the kick of that particular loop that I wanted to keep and just duplicate it right underneath, so I would have a separate source for that kick. And so that's what I did, and I lowered it in volume, as you can see the clip gain, and I processed it slightly differently, which we'll look at in a moment. And so then there was this loop down here, which was pretty boomy and kind of muffled, but really cool for the overall vibe, right? So you don't want to like get rid of that. So I was thinking, okay, what am I going to do? Because these kicks are completely phasing. They are just completely canceling out. And I don't want to cut it out completely, because then you'll lose some of the essence that's in this loop. And I don't want to cut off the low frequencies, because then I lose all of the essence of that loop. So what I decided to do was get my friend called Trackspacer. And for those of you who are not familiar with this plugin, it's simply a way to do sidechaining in a way that's clean, and just a way to get it like, not so colored, but just get something out of the way. It's basically a cheat code. I can highly recommend it. I'm not sponsored. I just love this thing. It's great for this stuff in particular. So over here, I see that I did the same kick duplicating process that I did with this one. I did also for the other loop where I kept this kick. So let me just play what I'm talking about. So here we have a kick by itself and duplicated. So these are sounding pretty good to me at this point, but also we have this guy, this loop to think of. So what I did was I took these kicks that I separated and had duplicated, and I sent them to an empty bus, in this case bus 33, which is the input for the Trackspacer on this muffled loop right here, so that every time that either this kick or the other one, this kick or the next play, they basically just push away the loop that Trackspacer is on. So if we mute these for a second. So this is what it's doing. And so what I did was I used the high cut filter on 666 hertz, the devil's frequency. I did not do that on purpose. I just basically just swept it down the middle, and that's where it ended up. Devil be gone. And so I put the amount very, very high so that it just cuts it all the way down to minus 50 dB. And if you click on this little button here, you can go into the advanced settings, which is, I always change them because the default is a release of 30 milliseconds, which for me is too long, especially for something like this. So I always shorten the release to around 20. The attack is by default on 5 milliseconds. I would like it a little bit earlier than that also because I want it to be really quick and just immediately push it away and immediately come back as well when it's done playing. You have a left, right, and mid-side option here. I usually put it on mid-side, but in this case, since the pan is not engaged, it's just doing a regular left, right. So let's take a look at this. So now this is working beautifully. So if I bypass the Trackspacer, it sounds like this. So if I engage it, it sounds like this. So basically, when Trackspacer is on, you can hear that there's there's space for the kick. And as soon as I bypass Trackspacer, if you really pinpoint your ear to it, you can hear that it's just sounding blown up and like there's no space for this kick. It sounds stacked. So this is creating movement, it's creating space, which is what I want. So now with the other loops engaged, this is what the whole thing sounds like. And if I bypass Trackspacer, you can hear that it's just much less clean. Now there are several ways to do the side chaining. I chose Trackspacer in particular because it sounds clean and it can be working really, really quickly. And like I said, there's no coloring in the sound. You can also do side chaining with basically any compressor or with dynamic EQ, but it's just more limited in my opinion because it's either going to color the sound or with a dynamic EQ, the release tends to be really long. And I want it to be quick. So, okay, so this is the first thing that I wanted to talk about. We missed a little bit of time. So I'm just going to check into the chat real quick. The audio is coming through. Okay, happy to hear that. Trackspacer is great. It works. Multiband behind the scenes. Multiband behind the scenes. I like that. I like that a lot. All right, awesome. So everyone is hearing this and the sound is coming through. Okay, just wanted to double check. So let's go a little bit into the processing that I did. I didn't do much. I don't like to do a lot of processing on like each individual stem. I like to just keep it as clean as possible, especially for drums, because usually when it comes to drums, you want to enhance the sound and just add to what is already there rather than, completely transform the sound unless you want the producer to get really mad at you. So let's start with this loop up here. Let's see. Yeah. So the first thing I did, oh yeah, this is one of my favorite things to do actually. The waves PS22 spread is basically just a way to get something that's dead in the center out of the center and a little bit more widened in a frequency dependent way. And I did it really, really subtly. As you can see, it's barely doing anything. But if I bypass it, you will hear what it's doing. So now it's off and now it's on. So you can hear that it's kind of like slightly changing the stereo field, which is what I'm looking for, because there is so much happening in the center already and everything is building up in the center. And this is just a great way to give something a little bit more space, really subtly, without panning it left or panning it right, and just get it out of the way, basically. So this is the first thing I did. Also, let's take a look at this one first before I keep going. So yeah, so I thought it was a little bit on the harsh side. So I did a de-harsh setting on the FabFilter Proteus. So if I bypass it, this is what it sounds like. Mainly the clap. And this is what it sounds like engaged. It's barely doing much, but I can immediately hear a difference. This is bypassed. This is on. So this is doing a really, really subtle de-harshing between 2 kilohertz and 8 kilohertz. You can also see that I used a preset that I named de-harsh. I like the oversampling on here. That sounds like money. It's a big tip. If you use this de-esser, especially on vocals, you're going to hear a huge difference if you engage the oversampling on the 4 times. Just a tip. So what I also love to do for drums in particular is the SSL 4K channel by Plugin Alliance. There are a bunch of different ones that have been released. I know Waves has done one. UID has one. I just really love how this one sounds. So let's just, oh yeah, this might have a volume difference. Let's just see. Oh no, it's not that bad. So this is bypassed. And this is with it on. So really I'm using this for the EQ and the filtering. And I love the TMT modeling. They model their plugins after analog consoles and stuff like that. So you can do like a random channel. It'll choose a left, right that just sounds slightly differently. So it's not perfect, which gives it a little bit more life. And a lot of their, especially their channel emulators have this. So just some general EQ, a little bit of top end that I added, and I took away some of like around 2K. Took away quite a lot of 270. So this is definitely something that I tend to do a lot. Is I like to look in between 300 and 400 hertz with any drums, really, and see if there's too much of it. Usually there is. In this case, I'm a little bit under, probably because the kick was a little bit boomy. Yeah. And so what I also like to do, in this case, I have done that, is just add a little bit, and this is on shelf mode, so it's from 300 down, all the way down. I'm adding a little bit back, but I am cutting quite a lot of 270. So I'm adding back some of that low end while I'm taking away some of the boominess, just to keep the weight of it. So that's basically this one. And I added in a little bit of parallel DBX 160, which is something that I like to do for drums often. And I quickly switched to the Waves one. As you can see, I usually have the UAD one, but it stopped working. But that's fine. We have one from Waves. So you can tell that it's doing quite a lot of gain reduction. If we mute it, this is without. This is with. one of my favorite things to do. Also, if it's not a loop, if it's just a regular kick, snare, hi-hat, I like to give them individually a little bit of DBX 160 love on Ascend. So let's move on to the next loop, which is this one. Now this one was on there originally, which is a high cut from around 10K, 9K, which is always a good idea in my opinion if you are stacking drums, stacking loops. It's always good to do a bunch of filtering. It's always a good idea. So aside from this one also having some DBX 160 on the parallel, we have another channel strip. Of course we do. So we got some filtering happening. We got kind of similar EQ, just except for the low end. But we bypass this. Yeah. So bypassed. I'll just let it play and shut up for a second. This is on. This is off. So you can tell that there's a lot of boxiness like in this range. When you listen, there's a lot of that happening in there. So I wanted to give it a little bit more of a smiley face, which is more low end, and a little bit more high end. So make it a little bit heavier in the low end and a little bit brighter in the high end, so that all this boxiness goes away. So that's basically pretty much what I did. And especially if you are stacking loops that are a little bit similar in sound, I would always try to look for like, how can I color one so that it is still remaining the essence of what it is. So I don't want to like completely change how it sounds. I don't want to like do a bit crusher or a lot of distortion or something like that. But I want to enhance what it is and still have room for everything. So I just went ahead and did a drastic EQ. I'm looking at it now. This is the first time that I'm looking at it since I have mixed this song. And I don't really know exactly how I got to this EQ, but this is what it became. So let's go over it. I'll play it again. So we got the high end here around 3K, which is giving the snare especially more presence and more smack. Cutting quite a lot of 700 and again 300, 290, and just giving a shitload of low end. So if we turn it off, basically all the juice goes away. So if I layer it with the original or with the previous loop, you can hear that they aren't really, they're very separated from each other. So they're playing together and they're doing the same rhythm, but they don't belong together. Like they're not really friends. They just see each other like at the coffee place, but they're not really talking to each other. And I want them to be friends. So I always look for like, how can I make them more harmonious? And this is what it came to. So one thing I always do when I'm EQing is I rarely EQ in solo unless I'm really, really trying to find a specific problem that I'm hearing. But if I'm EQing to give something space, I want to hear what it's playing together with. So I will at least have one other loop playing and probably much more. Like I'll even have the guitar playing, maybe the vocal while I'm EQing this loop. So let's bring in this guy, this loop. And you can tell that this is bypassed. I had a phase flip here that I tried, and obviously I ended up not using it because if you phase flip the whole loop, it's going to do different things with the snare and the hi-hats as well, and not just the kick. So where I said before that it's completely canceling out the kick, if you're thinking, well, why not just phase flip it? It's because it doesn't necessarily sound better if you phase flip. So I just rather have the kick be side chained. So this was the individual processing. So let's go a little bit. Let's look a little bit at the drum bus that I used in this session. So I have like some processing here. This is bypassed. And this is engaged. So this is the first thing I did because obviously I felt like this was building up too much. But sometimes I like to deliberately put a little bit too much low end so that I mean individually on the individual loops and stuff, so that I can then process it as a group. And so in this case, and I like how the dynamic EQ from this particular EQ sounds, the Pro Q3, because, and I'm soloing this right now, because it has a built-in quite long release, which is not always beneficial, but in this case, I like it because it gives us sort of a glue type of sound. Like if you want something to be glued, you want like a longer release, and I feel like it works. And so I just wanted to shape a little bit more between 150 and 200. So I took out a little bit of 200 with a wide Q, and I boosted just below it just to give it a little bit more color. So if I bypass these, it sounds a little bit too bulky. So just taking down 200 worked really well, I feel. So just bypass it and engage. So moving on, because my half hour is already over. So this is one of my favorite compressors to use on either drums or the master bus. And it's called the Shadow Hills compressor, and it's based on a hardware unit. It's actually two compressors. It's got an optical and a discrete. So the signal flow first goes into the optical, and then the optical signal goes into the discrete. I won't sit here and explain the plugin. We have no time, but I really love how it sounds, and I particularly love the Plugin Alliance version because it's got the Class A, which is this one. They have a regular Shadow Hills and the Shadow Hills Class A. This is the Class A, and I love how it sounds. I like the slow attack, fast release setting on basically any compressor, really, for a drum bus, if I will use any compressor. And one that is also really famous for drums is like any SSL channel, or this one where you just have like the slow attack, fast release settings. They call it the cross-eyed because they're like looking in the wrong direction. So you have slow attack so that you can get all the transients to come through, and then the release, you put it as fast as possible so that it kind of like tightens up the tail end of the drums. And so you get like a really nice type of groove, and the drums become more snappy. And also, this is something that I like to do on a parallel as well. If I'm not using the DBX 160, I can maybe use something else that has a little bit more color, or maybe a little bit more settings that I can mess with. So I'll typically use a slow attack so that the release or the transients can come through, and the release I'll do as fast as I can so that the tail gets kind of like cut short a little bit, and it gets like tight and snappy and just feels really good. So that's what I like to do with the Shadow Hills. I have the attack at the slowest and the release at the fastest, and I'm doing no more than 1 dB gain reduction. It's barely touching it, really. And if you're paying attention, the parallel is also engaged. So it's not even 100% wet, because I don't like to smash drums fully. I like to smash them only in parallel so that I still remain the dynamics, and I'm adding in a smash signal. So after, I have this guy, which is one of my secrets. It's called Spiff by Oak Sound. They are the same creators of Soothe, which a lot of you will probably know. And Spiff is an awesome sounding transient enhancer, transient designer, which you can use in either a boost or cut way. So I'm using the boost. And if we use delta, you can hear exactly what it's doing. I'll put the mix on 100%. So this is basically the sound that it's creating and that I'm adding in parallel, because I had it on, I think, a third, like 28 or something like that. So if I bypass, it's crazy, right? This is with it on. This is bypassed. It's just basically just bringing out the transients and just making the drums dance and have them poke out more. It's so musical, and you can also choose the frequency response of the transients, which I absolutely love. And you have all of these settings over here that you can choose the decay. You can choose for how long it's holding on to the boosting of the transient. You can choose whether it's doing that in a more low frequency or high frequency spectrum. You can choose sharpness, sensitivity, and it's just awesome sounding. I use this on, I'll say, every single drum bus, at least a little bit. So just one more time, I'll bypass it. And now it's on. It just sounds fantastic. So next up, we've got this guy, which is the black box. And since I've mixed this song, Plugin Alliance has actually come out with an even more extended one, which also has a mid-side function, which is even crazier. But for this one, I used the regular good old black box, which is also based on a hardware unit and just sounds really great. You have saturation and some distortion and some high end that you can add back in, and you can choose on which frequency range it will be boosting. So this is with it on, and this is off. Crazy, right? So it's just really bringing out all the goodness. And it's not just increasing in volume, which it is a little bit, but it's just increasing in overall weight, overall thickness, overall brightness. It's just adding a really, really nice sounding layer, which is something that I also use almost every single drum bus. And in this case, it's on 100% wet, but I've used this density that I turned down, which makes it a little less, well, literally dense. So if we bring this up, it's just a little bit more low end, which I didn't feel that I needed. So this is what we ended up with. And then there's a EQ with some dynamic EQing. Just subtle stuff. So I think that's about all the time we have for today. That went really, really quickly. I hope I wasn't babbling too much.
That
Hey,
was
Jane.
awesome. Hey. That was awesome. I've been
Hello.
making
Thank you.
notes. Hang on, I'm
Awesome.
gonna get closer to my microphone.
Yes.
I've been making notes like a madwoman. This is awesome. I've got lots of really great
Thank you.
great
I'm so
tips
happy
and
to hear
stuff.
that.
Yeah, really good. Let's change the view slightly there.
Yes. All right.
Neenah, thank you so much. Really good stuff. Wow,
Thank
awesome.
you.
Love
You're
it. So
welcome.
fun to look.
I
Go,
really
go.
tried to like get all of the information packed into one thing, but
It's
I mean, this is also why I chose loops because it's just, it's a little bit more compact and I still
yeah,
got to talk about what I wanted to say. So,
totally. Yeah, look, it's really good. I mean, from my perspective, it's so interesting to get the insight into other people's work.
mhm.
Most often where I'm sure you are the same, we're looking into other people's work, which are amazing, but male engineers. So it's so
Mhm.
exciting to get to look inside another female engineer.
Thank you.
It just feels fresh and exciting for me. So thank you so much for that.
Thank
And
you so much.
the yeah, like, and that's the other thing, as we're all like plug-in junkies anonymous over here. So it's always really fun.
Absolutely.
It's always really fun to be like, you've used that plug-in, I've never used that. So we've been having a wild chat. Everyone
Mhm.
that's been following along, we've been all going, oh wow.
Oh, no way.
I've been
Let me
asking
just
people
scroll down the chat.
I've been asking people what bus compressor they like, and the spiff, is it spiff that's gone
Awesome.
down a treat?
Yes.
People are quite excited to try that out.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I can't live without it, actually.
Awesome.
Spiff, it's wonderful what it can do, and you only need a little bit. And
Yeah.
I never use it at 100% wet, and the same goes for Soothe. But I cannot live without Spiff, cannot live without Soothe. Like both of them are just in every single session of mine. And the great thing about Spiff is you can also use it in cut mode. So it's not just boosting, it's also for cutting. Like if something is poking out too much, like say a guitar, like you have too much of like the fingers and stuff like that, it's just not sounding nice. You can use it in cut mode and it'll just solve all your
Oh,
problems like
amazing.
magic. So
That's what we want.
yeah, yeah,
So there's probably a few questions. Excuse me, I have a few questions, and the other
absolutely.
people will have questions. So just for everyone out there, if your questions, the few have come up that haven't been answered, so please, excuse me, repost them now, and I'm going to kind of go through and make sure that we answer everything. There's a
Hmm.
few, I think we want to kind of name check all the plugins that you use today. Let's make that the first one. So
Okay.
can you maybe put them up on your screen? And I think it's got to be like to the left of the screen. Let's see if we can get it into the
You
window.
mean like
Otherwise,
literally all of them? Because
no, just one by one. So this is the
okay.
Shadow Hills. What is that?
Okay. Yes, this is called the Shadow Hills. Can you see? I'm just
Yeah,
trying
we
to
can see
like
it. Yeah,
okay.
that's great.
This is the Shadow Hills compressor and it's the Class A, which is by Plugin Alliance.
What's the
So
difference between, what does Class A mean? What's that like?
it
Why?
it has more functions and it sounds
Okay.
slightly different,
Okay.
or I might be making it up. I have to do like an actual shootout between the two, but I feel like it lets through more low end. And I
Okay.
could be wrong about that. I could be making it up because, the
Sounds good
placebo
to
effect
me.
and whatnot. But it just sounds better to me. And I love that there are all these options underneath, which is the TMT channel
Yeah.
stuff that I was talking about,
Yeah.
where you can just choose a random left, right, and it'll just sound great. And you
Cool.
have all these options like a headroom, sidechain filter, mono maker, stereo
Okay.
width, and parallel. So the
Okay. So
original Shadow Hills doesn't have
Okay, so
that.
that's the right. Okay, so that's the Shadow Hills. Let's go through. What was the first one? I think it was the
Oh, Trackspacer, yes.
Trackspacer. Let's just check that
This is
one.
my friend right
Trackspacer.
here. Trackspacer is by
Okay, go
Waves
a little bit to the
Factory.
left because we've only got half of it. So
Oh,
that's perfect. Yeah. So okay, so Trackspacer,
yay.
awesome.
Yes.
Okay, then we had. So you're a DBX 160 fan. That's your
I
if
am
you're
for parallel on
yeah
drums, yes.
into
So
it.
yeah, so usually I'll slap on the UAD version for no particular reason other than it's in my template.
Yeah.
And it always works. It really
Yep.
literally always works on parallel on drums. If I just want something to poke out a little bit more, I'll just throw it on a send and I'll bring it up, and it usually just sounds fantastic.
Okay.
And you can
Awesome.
choose what you're using it on because I will never use it on the drum bus. I'll never
Right.
throw a parallel send on a drum bus. I'll just use individual parts, and you can choose how much of it you're actually adding.
Okay.
So
All
that's
right. Okay. So
DBX
let's
116
go to a few
parallel.
questions here. We've got so first up we've got hang on, from Emiliana. It was so refreshing to hear you say that you don't tend to treat drums one by one. So that's cool. So you're thinking about how you're grouping drums and like doing processing to the groups.
Yes. And
Yeah.
also just like not listen to one thing, just one
Absolutely.
thing and EQ it, because
At a
it's always
time.
going to be, working together with something else. And like I said, they have to become friends and become in harmony. And you don't know how it's going to sound with something else if you put it in solo. So,
Absolutely. Definitely. Good
mhm.
one. Okay. So we've got Cindamaya is saying always gain stage? Question mark.
Yes.
Yes, the short answer is yes, mofo, gain stage.
Yes, you need
Yes.
room to work, if you start at the absolute ceiling, where are you gonna go? So you always gain stage.
Well said. I love it.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Okay, then we've got Emiliano again is saying EQ. Is it coming up? EQ before or after compression? The
That
raging debate
depends.
continues. Yep.
That
Yep.
depends. I will EQ before the compressor if I feel like I need to take stuff away. So EQ before the compressor I will do if it's corrective. EQ after compressor I will do if it's for coloring. So
Yeah.
if
That's
I'm
also
if
what
I'm
I do.
happy, yeah. So
Yep.
it makes sense, right?
Strong.
Like you don't want to like especially not boost something first and then compress it unless you're looking for a very particular sound that just doesn't make sense to me to do it like that. So that's how I would do it.
Yeah, also nice one. Okay, cool. Very good. And we've got Pedro saying thoughts on wave shapers like the inflator for what the black box is doing in this scenario. So would you, I guess the question to refigure, would you use the inflator instead of the black box?
I wouldn't. No, because the inflator to me, um, it makes something fatter, it makes something louder, but not necessarily sound better. Because it takes away the dynamics and it takes away the all the nice transient stuff that is happening, all the dynamics that I'm working on. I wouldn't use an inflator on a drum bus. Unless it's like super extremely pokey or something like that. I would only use it for corrective things. And I would definitely not put the inflator and the black box in the same category because the black box is
Mm,
more of the distortion saturation unit and the inflator is just to me is just not. So I wouldn't use
yeah.
them for the same things and not on the same sources either.
Yeah, nice one. Totally. Love the black box. I got obsessed with that
Mm.
for 6 months ago and I can't stop using it. It's really,
Oh,
really
it's
good.
awesome. It's so
Very
good. And
good.
I love the more extended one that Plugin Alliance did
Yeah.
also.
Yep. Also really good. Definitely. Cool. Okay. So if you've got any questions, you've got a few more minutes to ask them, party people out there. We have, okay. So if we're talking about, so we've got Cinder Meyer saying, just making sure about the which way do we go. We've got a few more comments. Subtractive EQ before the compressor. Nice one, Sarah May. You're on the right track.
Yeah,
Legend.
same. Mhm.
What else have we got? Okay, so Cinderweir is talking about gain staging. Do we hit everything at 0 dBVU when
Well,
gain
for
staging?
for me that doesn't exist because I'm in the box, and
Right.
so I will just clip gain down to minus 18 dB,
Cool. And
so
that's
that
a
everything playing all together is hitting minus 18 dB.
so I got a question for you on that because this is something that a lot of people I think have a lot of confusion about. Are you talking about average loudness minus 18 or are you talking about peak loudness minus 18?
It's just the meter when it's like playing, it'll show you. So it's not LUFS, it's not RMS. It's
Okay.
just literally where it's peaking, I guess.
Okay.
So it'll be an average, and it's not like it has to be minus 18. It'll be an average and anywhere between minus 16 and minus 19. I'll be in between there. When everything is playing all dry before I throw anything on and before I do any routing or whatever, I want everything to hit around that level so that I have more than enough headroom to work with, which is my
Yep.
gain staging.
Nice. Awesome. Very, very cool.
Yeah.
Okay. And then on the note of the black box, I assume, Pedro is saying, do you like the decapitator from
I
Soundtracks?
love the decapitator. It's
Yeah, very
great.
good.
It's fantastic. I love it for very many things, particularly vocals. I'll use it on instruments. I don't necessarily use it so much on drums just because I like the black box better for drums because I like the low end better on it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. It's
So
kind of
I
cleaner or
love
something, is it? Would you say? There's a bit more
the
definition.
decapitator.
No, the black box. It doesn't
Right.
destroy the clarity of the low end, I think.
Yes, yes, I agree. And also there's just more options that I want for drums in particular on the
Nice
black
one.
box. So that's why I would reach for a black box before I'll do a decapitator on drums. But decapitator for literally everything else.
Yeah, it's badass. Really good. Okay, so we've got
Yeah, it's great.
Emiliana is saying we're talking about gain staging. It's a hot topic. Everyone's always like, am I doing it
Hmm.
right? Is it right? Whatever. So everyone, yeah, cool. Everyone's on knowing what they're talking about here. It sounds like it's all good. Really good. Great stuff. Okay, now I have a question. As we're talking about the gain staging, we're going to finish up in like 5 or 10 minutes, everyone. So last chance for getting your questions in. I'm going to ask my questions now. When you're mixing, when you deliver to a client to listen to your mix, do you send them a limited version or do you send them your mix?
I do. There's a big debate on this among engineers in general. I always send a limited version that is going to be as loud as it's going to be when it's mastered.
Yeah.
Just because I feel like um, 9 times out of 10, they have been listening to a very loud demo, which I can
Yeah.
usually already not beat. Like it'll be -5 LUFS or something crazy like that. And it'll just be
Yeah.
like, a wall of sound, and I'm already
Yeah.
competing with this, so I cannot send them a mix that's
Yeah.
-16 loves, you know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
and also I personally just like it better. I like it better to listen to something that is sounding as if I'm already streaming it
Yeah.
somewhere.
Yeah. Yep.
So it's personal taste also. But it would be nice if the loudness war would kind of calm down a little bit more so that we're not
I
competing
thought it
with.
was over, but it's definitely not over.
It's not at all because I mean, if anything, it's worse because
Oh
like because of
God.
all the different
Streaming. Yeah.
yeah, so because there's like different destinations.
Yeah.
So what do you do, right?
Yeah,
And how do
totally.
you stay loud when you're getting turned down in volume everywhere? So yeah,
Absolutely. Yeah. It's a bit of a dark art, isn't it? How do we
yeah,
make it? Well, I mean, kind of is and isn't, but
yeah.
yeah, it's the struggle for superiority with the little loudness thing
Yes, just because
remains.
the human ear is just always thinking louder is better when
Yeah.
it's really not. But
No, it's really not.
for some
Turn it
reason
up.
it
I
just
always am like, just turn it up. Turn up the volume.
yeah, yeah,
Anyway,
right. In the perfect world.
now what was I going to say? I mean, I'm just looking at my notes here and I'm seeing all these really amazing things that you said that I think are really interesting. One thing that I thought was interesting, you said the smiley face. So that's cool. So like, I only know that in terms of like EQ curve on speakers to make them sound nicer. But I love
Mhm.
that you bring that into your kind of creating the character for the drums. Is that
Yeah.
like, yeah, I
Well,
mean,
it's source related because in this case I felt like it was too boxy, so there was too much in the low mids
yeah, right,
for
okay.
me for my liking. And like I was saying, like it just made it so that they weren't working together and I wanted them to kind of like blend in better. So I ended up with an EQ that was actually a little bit of a smiley face in the end, which wasn't really something like, oh, I need a smiley face. I
Right,
shall
right.
put it on right now. It's just
That's
that's
what
where
it
I
ended up
ended up.
being.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So,
Cool.
but
Awesome.
yeah, that's technically, I guess, the term to use. If it's more low end, more high end,
Sure.
then it's a little.
Yeah. Smiley. Awesome. Okay, we've got a couple more questions. We're gonna wrap it up soon, but we've got
Okay.
one from Emiliana. I haven't read this, so let's read it together. I've heard a couple of approaches when mixing in general. One is to start from the ground up, that is drums, then instrumentals, then vocals. And then the other one is to start from the most important instrument. So like maybe you start from vocals, and
Mhm.
this is the second part of it. Where do you lean more, i.e. what's your process when you mix? Where do you start?
Yeah, so I like to start with something that excites me, something that grabs my
Nice.
attention. So it depends on what type of song I'm working on. I know for a fact that with this particular song that I showed today, I started with the drums just because I heard something wasn't really right. And I'm just like, okay, how do I make this right? And I just get excited and I dive in, and that's where I start.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and also for literally every mix that I start, I will have already done a full vocal edit. So I will already do like the vocal automation, the manual de-essing, just getting the clicks and pops out, getting everything nice, and doing the volume automation on the
So
clip gain.
that's part of your job as a mix engineer, is to just kind of on the
It
cusp
is.
of production and mixing, right?
Yeah, I would say, well, just because I want like a nice source to start off with.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
if I want to put a compressor on a vocal and the vocal is all over the place, I'm going to run into problems. So
Yeah.
just to be basically my own assistant
Yeah,
and be my
yeah.
own helper,
Yeah.
I will make sure that everything is just exactly where I need it to be before I start mixing. And I always do this on a different day as well.
That was
So
my next question. Do you do, because I mean, I find that
yeah.
if I do too much kind of close
Oh,
editing,
yeah.
I lose perspective of the big picture, and I kind of,
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I never do it on the same day because it's very tedious and very intricate work. So you have to like really zoom in on things. And if you then immediately after start mixing, I'm gonna run into trouble. So I
yeah.
never do that. So, but to get back to the question, the approach to where to start, I just start with what excites me. Usually that's gonna be a really cool vocal and whatever is supporting that vocal.
Cool.
So
Yeah. I like
mainly
that. I
it's gonna
mean,
be vocals.
that's super interesting because I like that the idea, that thing of like, yeah, I'm just going to start with the thing that's most exciting, which makes perfect sense. And exciting in the
Mhm.
sense of like, yes, I know what to do with
Yeah.
this, or this has
This
some,
has to sit right, and
yeah,
everything else has to support whatever this is.
yeah,
So
awesome.
it's gonna be vocals, a main instrument, and drums that'll like catch your attention
Mm-hmm.
immediately. Those all have to sit right, and everything else is gonna have to be supportive and get out of the way. So I start with what excites me and what inspires me.
Cool.
Someone said, "Do you use a vocal
So
writer
this
for
is, yeah, so
the
this is the next
vocals?"
question from Andrea. Is it like, do you use a vocal writer? Because you're talking about lots of
I
detailed
don't.
manual,
Yeah,
and it sounds like you don't. Why don't you?
I
What's your,
don't.
why? Because I don't use a vocal writer either, and I'm interested for your reason why you feel that why do you do it manually? Why are you like a
It's
masochist
the
to give
best.
yourself?
I know.
Why do you have
It's
to
the
put
best
yourself through this?
result. It's
Yeah,
the best result. The vocal writer is not gonna do what I want this vocal to do
right,
very specifically because I'm just very particular and I
right.
hear everything. So if I hear like a little click or whatever, like anything, I have to get it out of the way. So while I'm editing this vocal, I'll edit everything. I'll do the volume automation, so the clip gain, and the de-essing and the turning down all the T's and all of the clicks and pops and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
I'll do that in one go.
Yeah.
So if I
So I
slap on
think
a vocal writer, it's not going to do what I want it to
so.
do.
I guess that's the difference. Is like these things is that are helping us to like speed up. Cool, they keep our workflow faster, but they're losing the attention to detail, which is
Yes.
probably one of the things about being a good mix engineer is that you pay attention to the little things, and that's what
I
you're
think
saying, is
so,
it?
yeah,
Yeah,
and that's definitely how I work. I can't just let go of that part because it's the main part of a good mix is to have like something that's solid
yep,
beginning to end, and I can't rely on a plugin to do it for me. If I could do that, I would do like 5, 6 mixes a day and just knock them out, but that's just not how I work.
well, let's go. Yeah,
Yeah. But it's great
totally.
if you're in the process of something creative, you're recording, you're producing or something like that. Then it's great, but not for a mix.
Yeah. Okay. Definitely. Okay. Cool. So the verdict is in. So Pedro is saying I'm trying
Hey,
out tape
yes.
and it's great. Your presets also.
Thank you.
And since there are so many tape emulations around, would you say it replaces most of them, or do you still have some go-tos that you can't leave behind?
Oh, I wouldn't say it replaces tape
Let me
emulations.
take this off because we can't see your face. Go for it.
Yeah, no, it's a great plugin and I really like how it sounds. It's particularly fun to add some kind of color, but I wouldn't say that it would replace tape emulations per se because, well, all of these different tape emulations that we have a bunch of great ones from UAD or Waves or Softtube. They all sound different and they all sound great and they all have their, individual.
Like every tape machine, that's the same kind of thing.
Right.
And every tape you use has got its own kind of thing. Yeah.
Absolutely. And so I wouldn't say that it replaces them. Absolutely not. I would say I would use tape basically. Well, you've checked out my presets. Thank you for that. I've used it as a send for a vocal, for a lead vocal. I've used it on an 808. I love it on 808s. I've used it on the drum bus in parallel and on the instrumental bus. Also in parallel, and it just adds like a little bit of juice and just a little bit of color if you're looking for something extra but not too much. So that's what I would grab it for.
I've got to go get it.
Today,
yeah,
I think.
Oh, it's just launched. Okay, well,
yeah,
I know the next plugin that I'm going to be getting. I've kind of heard a few words about it. So I was teaching at the university.
Demo it.
Yeah.
Demo it and see
I'm definitely going to.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, we're finished. We're past 8. We've moved beyond the hour, and time flies when you're getting geeky and talking.
Absolutely.
Talking about manual editing.
And I knew this would happen also. Like, I can keep going forever. So it's good that you're here because
totally.
I would never leave.
We've got to pull the plug. So look, Neenah, thank you so much. I'm going to just, I'll take your Pro Tools out of the screen for a second. Thank you so much. I'm so thrilled to have you. It was really, really awesome to get a sneak peek inside your working on drums. Yeah, I mean, I've definitely got lots of things that I'm going to take away and to try out. And I hope that everyone that's been listening on the stream has got lots of really good tips and stuff. It's been awesome. So thank you so much. And
thank you.
I guess we're going to sign off for now. So thank you for all your questions and everything. Stay tuned.
Thanks
Check out the
Pathwaves
Instagram. It is instagram.com/pathwaves.de. NeenahMixedIt is NeenahMixedIt on Instagram. So please check it out, like and subscribe, of course, this video if you're watching it later, and get involved in all the Pathwave stuff. We've got different things every week that's happening. And if you want to get the opportunity to you will have created the song, but to record, produce, and mix your track in one of the best studios in Berlin, the Brewery Studios, then you should apply to be part of our studio project. So all the information is on pathwaves.de. We'll catch you next week or the week after that because we've got lots of stuff going on. So thank you everyone again. Thank you, Neenah.
Thank you. Thank you guys.
All right. Catch you all later.